Well, I mean, like I mean, that's a whole nother conversation, like age gap dating. But I mean, actually, most of the women I date are actually around my age. Recently, I've been like some of the more recent women in the past 2 or 3 years I've dated have actually been older than me. But
love that.
Generally speaking, I date women around my age. But like, I'll date anywhere from 18 to 45. Why not? That's my negotiating range.
Do you not find that, like just out of curiosity,
Sure.
do you not find that not even just a maturity gap between you and an 18-year-old, but a relatability gap?
Well, and to be clear, like, of most of the women I've recently dated, they're like late 20s, early 30s. But like, I'm not like if some fucking babe who's 21, I'm not gonna like be like, haha, no. I'm not gonna be like,
to be honest,
you're too, no.
Sorry, I think that 21 and 18 is also very different.
Sure.
Because 18 is like fresh out of high school. Like,
Very
that's
true.
A kid.
So different.
And then 21.
Well, 18, you are an adult. But it's
Legally,
it's not like I'm trolling at college parties trying to find 18-year-olds.
No. I'm not
There's
saying
also
that you
like
have any
18-year-olds that
malicious
are like way more mature than you think they would be. Because
And I'm
you
not
grow up
saying you're
differently.
And let me,
like,
that actually,
like
Maddie,
I'm 18, or I'm 18, my boyfriend's 22. Yeah.
But that's fair.
I think that's, but yeah, that's more.
That's like
more
yeah,
normal.
that's
But,
very
like,
acceptable.
Well, me personally though, I don't have issues with age gaps. If both people are adults, I don't have an issue with it.
Yeah.
When it comes to the maturity thing though, and Maddie raised actually a really good point. As someone who's dated, or like who's gone on dates or has had relationships with women my age, older than me, around my age, there are some very, very immature women who are 35. There are some women who are very toxic who are 35. There are some women who are 21 that are very pleasant and actually quite mature. And the other thing when it comes to dating young, actually we should react to a tape video because he's going to be able to articulate this much better than me. But someone who's younger has less relationship baggage. Is more likely to have less relationship baggage, lower body count, and also like when it comes to physical attractiveness, what men and women find physically attractive is fairly different. So, and they've done studies on this. Like, it's not just like a fringe group of men that find like 21-year-old women really attractive. It's like across the board. If you ask most men, and if they're going to be honest with you, I mean, if there's something to be said about certain people prefer hearing comforting lies over uncomfortable truths. The fact of the matter is, like, if you ask most men, they would say when it comes to purely physical attractiveness, not talking about relatability or things in common, women between the age of like, I think 21 to 25 is when most men will agree. That's like the peak of the peak age group of women that they find the most physically attractive.
I agree with
strictly
you.
on that
Yeah.
metric. And look, as we age, you know, we maybe gain a bit of weight. Some people can get physically fitter, but you know, you start going under, you know, wrinkly skin. You become less physically attractive as you get older. So, and they have done studies on this though. Women typically, like, as women age, they tend to find men like 1 or 2 years older than them, like, the most attractive. And then, but for men, it's like pretty much stagnant, like 20, 21, 21, like even into men being 40, 50, like that's the most physically attractive age.
I was 21 and I dated a 45-year-old. And
Cool.
But what I found was, like you said, I think that I was thinking, oh my gosh, relationship, marriage. I was thinking that at 21. I was thinking that. But I was a vacation for him, apparently. And it wasn't like a sex work thing. It was, I didn't realize that he had gotten out of a big relationship. I didn't know about it. I was his vacation. So I'm like, that could be something. And I'm like, oh, okay, I get it now.
When Matt and I started dating, I was 22 and he was 34. And I was actually coming on to him really strong.
You were okay. You were 22. He was 34.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. But you were the one really pursuing him.
Yeah, I was like really into it.
Yeah.
And at first he was like, oh, is she a little too young? But then, he got to know me and realized, oh, for 22, she's actually mature. And
Yeah.
And it seemed kind of like it was sort of a similar thing because he had just been seeing someone who was about his age. And she was like, as far as he said, she was like kind of a downer and things like that.
Yeah,
And
yeah, that's
I
the
was like
thing.
refreshing. And
That's the same
yeah,
thing.
so I think like age gaps. Yeah, I totally.
It could be hit or miss.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
But
sure.
statistically, people marry and date within 3 years of their
Sure.
age.
I mean, that's just.
Oh,
Right.
yeah, interesting.
But also, I mean, I read this one. It kind of grossed me out. This one study that they connected. So they showed pictures of women of different ages to different men, and they connected their brains to it, and their brains reacted most to women who were like 16.
Ah.
Yikes.
I haven't heard of that study. I don't know
Yeah.
about.
I
that
couldn't
study.
quote it, and I mean, maybe I'll look it up. I think honestly, when I was like 16, I think my dad told me about it. So this is like deep in my brain.
I don't know.
I just
I've
thought
never,
of it.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah,
And
I've
I've
never
been.
Heard of it.
But I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think where I was going with this. Yeah. Well, I mean, just a point of clarification. Like, as I mentioned, like, would I date someone who's 19, 20, 21? I would, but I'm not like hanging out at fucking college parties trying to meet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
I don't go to bars. I don't go to
Yeah.
clubs. Like, I'm
You're
not
not
really.
fishing.
But if some fucking baddie 21-year-old DMs me, I'm not gonna say. I'm not gonna be like sorry. No, like it's so.
Not interested.
I'm a man of God.
This is a purely personal standpoint, but I feel that if a man who I think my cutoff is probably like 25, 26, which is still it's a pretty large age gap for 19. But if a man who's 25 or 26 years old, knowing my age, reaches out to me, that raises some concern for me. And I would like to consider myself mature for my age. I don't want to blatantly say that because I don't know. But like, even with she's the same maturity level, I would still view it as kind of concerning, just life experience-wise almost.
Like they're advertising just that. It's kind of like in those adult videos. They go 19-year-old, 18, just
How they say
turned 18.
barely 18. I don't know.
I know what you mean.
I don't think they're going out of their way.
They shouldn't be
to-
advertising that solely.
Yeah, I don't think they're going out of their way for that one sole reason. But sometimes it can imply, and obviously this has to do with their personal history, that they, as an older man, can't, like, maybe girls their age know better.
Yeah.
Almost. Does that make sense?
Funky
No,
town.
not really. Not
don't
really.
think so?
Like, I think it's pretty simple. Like, younger women are better looking, lower body count, less baggage, and this is a biological component to it. They're a better bet for fertility. So, like, for example, I mean, obviously we're using like,
Biology.
you know, women who are 25 are still, you know, even into their late 20s are still very fertile. However, like, say you're a guy who's in his late 30s and you want to have kids. Once you hit 35 as a woman, you can still have kids, but you're starting to get into high-risk pregnancy territory. So as a guy, Nick, hello. As a guy, let's say you want to have kids, you want to have a family, and maybe you want to have a lot of kids. A woman, say you're 39, dating a woman your age is not the best bet when it comes to fertility. If you're 39 and you're going to date a 38-year-old, okay, by the time you guys get married, maybe you're both 42, then she's 40. Maybe you're lucky to have one kid. Like, a guy who's in his late 30s is probably going to want to try to date like a woman who's 29, 28.